Welcome to Shine Your Light, where we humanize the conversation and speak on topics that can expand our minds while sharing our own truth. Hi everyone, how you doing? Welcome to season 2 of Shine Your Light. That's right, we reached season 2. And for the season opener, I have someone I truly love. Guess what? We have Jacqueline Way, the founder of 365 Give, with us on the show tonight. We're going to talk about conscious leadership. And why Jacqueline? Because Jacqueline is a conscious leader. She operates through love. What does she do? Well, she's the founder of a company that teaches us how to give. Now you'll say, wait a second, is it about putting your hands in your pocket? No, it's got nothing to do with that. She talks about the small, kind gestures that each one of us can do in order for us to help someone else, whether it's open the door, pat someone on the back, or even get someone to smile. It's contagious, it's loving, it's giving, and it's not all put your hands in your pocket. That's right. So with me right now, Jacqueline Way, season 2. With no further ado, let's do this. I love it. So I finally got you here.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm just, as I look at you right across the world, right? For those people who don't know, me and Jacqueline are very good friends. You know, she is, I always say she's one of my mentors. She kind of throws that one back at me. But it's funny because we are one of those people that we both always kind of can finish our sentences, right? We can finish each other's sentences. And I just admire you so much for just who you are as a person, how you show up for the world, and the most beautiful soul that you are. So it's an honor to have you here today, Jacqueline Way.
Well, we've talked about this for a long time, so it's very exciting for us to both be together. And, for those that are out there today, first of all, I'm from Vancouver, Canada. So it's actually 6 o'clock in the morning here. So I apologize for the darkness around me. But if I turn a light on behind me, it's all going to glare in. So it's going to be that quiet. I should have lit candles almost around me.
You know, it's funny when I saw this image of you earlier, I was like, it's so peaceful. I can probably see the sun. I don't know if is there the room on your left? Is that outside of the house? The sun will come in from there?
No, it's not.
Oh, okay.
The sun's not even up. We still probably got about an hour away still till the sun's going to be coming up.
So
it's just the glow of light. It's the glow.
Right.
Yeah, we can call it the sun coming up. How about that? Yeah, it's the glow of the sun rising behind me.
We're gonna let you be the light today, all right? And we're gonna have you as the hero here. So Jackie, look, for many people, we've been talking about last year conscious leadership, and for many people, when you talk about the word conscious leadership, oh, it sounds kind of fluffy. What is this all about? What's a conscious leader, right? So I said, okay, I've told people what it is. Today we'll share a little more about what it is. But I said, what's more fun than just telling them what it is? Showing them, right, what it is. So I said, hey, I'm going to bring someone on who's actually a conscious leader, right? So before I ask you a question, I'm going to just define it for everyone. And very simple. I like to define it as simple as possible. When I say a conscious leader is a leader that operates, and leads through love, right? And for those of you that look at love as something that we leave at home, you may want to think again, because the world today and the world that we live in operates and truly appreciates love. And people get inspired and motivated by you showing up as love at work. So whether you're a leader, whether you are a leader in the making, or whether you are just one of those amazing people that contribute to the purpose of the organization, love is that answer. Love is that answer that has been missing for many. And here we are today to talk about how we can fill those gaps and then bring the people into this journey of conscious leadership. So Jackie, let's talk about conscious leader. You've been doing, as a conscious leader, you've shown up with you have an amazing story with 365 Give. So tell us about the purpose and how did 365 Give come about? Because I love that story. So can we start there?
Absolutely. It's perfect timing right now. And sorry, I'm just getting some feedback. Give me 1 second. Let's see if I can turn this down a little bit.
I hear you really well. So,
okay, no problem. I'm just getting feedback. So I'm going to be bringing in my own ears. Nothing like feedback. Right. So really 365 Give started from exactly what you're talking about. I am a mother to three beautiful little boys, and my boys are all adopted. And the first time I met my first son, he was 11-week-old little baby boy. And really the whole process of motherhood and coming into what I consider to be my destiny was a process of love. And I love that little man so much. He's 13 years old today, no longer a little man, but he really inspired me in my life. And it's the perfect kind of turnaround to what you just said, is how love inspires emotions of positivity. And inspiration is just one of those emotions. When you feel love, you are inspired to things in your life. And so as a mother, my real goal for my children is never, will they become a doctor, a lawyer, or any of those things. It was, how can I grow kind, compassionate, loving little human beings in my world? And so when my son turned 3 years old, I decided it was the perfect time before he started school to teach him some of those attributes in his life. And what we need to understand is that, teaching a child or teaching another human being is teachable. You can teach them how to be kind and giving and loving in their life. Not only do you have to reflect it by your own behavior in your world, but you need to teach them. It is something that we're born with, but very easily in our world from the outside world, it can be stripped away as easily as it can be taught.
Yes.
So my son and I went on a little journey. And on his third birthday, I decided that I was going to teach him how to be a giving, compassionate, loving human being by actually going out into action into the world. And we made a commitment to do one small act of giving every day for 365 days.
Wow.
It sounds like a huge project, but it actually wasn't, because our actions, our giving actions, had to be so simple, a 3-year-old can do it. So it was a conscious effort every day to instill giving actions in my son. And it would be simple things. We would be going to a park, as you do with your children. And while we were there, we would pick up garbage. We would go down to our local animal shelter and give towels and blankets. It wasn't about giving money. It was just putting our hearts into action. And as this is the perfect way, we literally call it love in action. It's not the way I explained it to my child. We kept it really simple. It was just making that conscious effort together and making it a daily habit every day in our lives. And in that time, I decided I was going to start a blog about it. Well, the blog ended up being followed by people all over the world. We ended up with people on Twitter and Facebook and all those tools that we use. This is before Instagram. And we had people from all over the world start following us, which was pretty phenomenal, because really we just made it for our family and friends so that they could tap into what we're doing. It's kind of like a real life journal. And the really neat thing about it was I had a friend reach out to me at the end of our journey after 365 days and say, I want to bring this concept to my classroom. And she was a teacher. And it was the beginning of us creating an educational program, which today has been put into classrooms and schools in almost 400 schools all over the world, which if you had asked me at the time when I started this project, that was even going to be a thing, I would never have been able to even tell you that. I'm not a teacher nor an educator. So for me to be part of creating an educational program has been a remarkable journey, and to see people from all over the world and create an understanding about giving in a different way, because we're not about giving money. We're about doing small things every day in your life that's possible for every single person on the planet. It doesn't matter your race, your religion, where you live, what gender you are. They're just small actions that can be included. But as you say, it's taking that conscious action. So we've now created within our organization, 365 Give, not only an educational program for schools, but we've created a program that anybody can join with us. We've created guides and resources so that you can join as an individual, you can join as a business, you can join as a family or a community.
Right.
So that we're starting to make that a conscious everyday choice by people to include giving into your world every day. Because when you do that, that's exactly what you were talking about. You're literally putting love into action into the world every day of your life. And, everybody has heard that saying, what you give, you get. When you consciously make that effort to give love every day in your life, and not just to your family or your friends, but to the planet, to animals, to strangers that you don't even know in small ways, it's how you bring love back into your life as well. Because when you give love, it automatically comes back in your life.
Absolutely. And I love so many things you've thrown our way. And, we talk about the gift of gratitude. We talk about how we can learn, how do we teach our kids to be grateful, right? And teaching them these small acts of kindness, right? So this is why I was so driven to talk about this, is because, we talk about well-being, we talk about happiness, we talk about conscious leadership. But when it shows up, people always say, well, these are things that, well, yeah, really, how important is it to open the door for someone, or, put out some food for the birds? But guess what? It is important, it does make a difference. And the beautiful thing is, when you lead this way, people follow, right? So the gorgeous thing about the story is, yes, we can have a 3-year-old kid learn this at home, but we can also have organizations pick this up and find ways that they can then bring this to work as well, so that they realize that, doing things for each other, creating community, being able to bring those acts of kindness and gestures that a lot of us have started taking for granted. Look, Jackie, we look back at years when we were younger. It was very common for someone to hold the door, for someone else as they walked out. It was, in fact, if you didn't do it, people would look at you really funny and go, what's going on with you? You don't have manners, right? But fast forward 20, 25 years, and I've been in places where people just walked out, and there was an old lady walking, I was behind, and she was walking in front of me, 2, 3 people in front of me. And this young man opened up the door and rushed out. And he didn't even have a second thought to hold the door for a few minutes longer so she could come out. And, it felt shocking to me. I just said, wouldn't it be beautiful if we could apply what you're talking about, just these small acts of kindness, because it makes such a huge difference, right, to hold the door. So to end that story, I ran in front of her because it didn't happen. And I tried to make sure that the next door, because there was 2 doors that she walks out of, I held open. It was just a small thing. I don't think the young man saw it anyway, but it was great that she noticed it. The gist of the story is, these are the things that make a difference. Even a smile. I love when you taught me this. You were like, Raj, you keep on smiling. And you don't know how big that is for the world. You keep on smiling for them. And I go, oh, I do that all the time. And you're like, no, but even that is in its own way giving. You're giving back through love, through appreciation. So thank you for this teaching. I think it's so beautiful, so simple, yet so few people are doing it today. So it's amazing that you're actually taking this initiative.
Thank you. And it's part of this as well, and it's what you just said, that you talk about well-being and you talk about happiness. And what people really need to understand is that it's all tied in together. And there's a really amazing chemical reaction that goes on in your body. And when they say that giving is good for you, it literally is physically good for you. Because when you give, or somebody is even witnessing an act of giving by somebody else, and this is where the leadership point comes in, is that when people are witnessing somebody else being very giving of themselves, or you're giving yourself, and this is the part that's so important right now, especially during COVID, is it literally changes the chemical makeup of your body. And this is the part that most people don't realize, is that it actually makes you healthier. It's now been proven through science is that giving increases your health. It increases your life longevity. It boosts your immune system. And one of the key parts of this, and I can go through, we call it your daily dose of happiness, because it's a chemical reaction between dopamine and oxytocin and serotonin and your endorphins in your body. But the big part is it reduces your cortisol, which is your stress hormone. And what we know about cortisol is that's what makes our body sick, because it's the part of our bodies that bring your immune system down. And right now, the most important thing that we can all focus on is having really healthy, strong immune systems. And that means we need to make that effort to not only exercise or meditate or do your yoga, we need to make that conscious effort to do everything in our lives to increase our immune system, to decrease our stress. And the stress, as we know, has been huge in our world over the last year. And it's been from the loss of so many lives to the way that we function, the pivots that we have to make, the changes that we've had to make. The most important thing that we can do right now is really acknowledge, learn about, and understand how we can strengthen our bodies in every aspect of our life to keep us healthy and strong, both mentally and physically.
I love what I'm hearing. I love what I'm hearing. And as you're talking, I'm hearing nuggets of wisdom, my friend, because you talk about, the acts of kindness. And this is where we now talk about what's happened last year. And in organizations, I just want to bring it back to apply now, just so that people can see it's not only limited to us as individuals, but how we can apply it wider. We talk about acts of kindness, like last year, we've all gone through so much. Empathy is also giving, isn't it? Bringing empathy to the table.
Absolutely. Yeah. Compassion and gratitude. They all tie in together. When I think of love and you talk of love, it's every positive emotion. It comes from every positive emotion people feel in their life. And so when you're coming from a place of giving in your life, even in small ways, it ignites compassion. That is compassion for others. It's taking the time to listen. It's taking the time to acknowledge people. If it's a homeless person on the street, or it's a fellow employee that's really struggling, it's taking that time to recognize that they're in a place that they need some compassion, or they need gratitude. Maybe it was the other way around, that somebody came to help you when you needed it and you were struggling, and truly recognizing and taking that time to be grateful for their efforts and for all the efforts that every organization and every employee has made, whether it's staying home and trying to work in a different environment, or creating opportunities to come together, whether that's on Zoom or any other platform that you use. Being grateful to your employees right now for the dramatic changes that they've had to make in their life, homeschooling their children, trying to working from an office space that they've now created in their homes. We have to recognize all of that as leaders, that they're doing their work, they're still functioning while these massive changes have gone on in all of our lives. I saw so much from employees and the perspective of the struggles that they went through because they didn't know how to work from home. Obviously, you can see I work from home. I'm used to it. There wasn't a lot of change for me in my world. But for so many other people, not being in community, not being with the fellow employees to bounce things off of, to just brainstorm ideas, that's a huge pivot for people. And being able to stay focused on the tasks at hand and move companies forward in such a difficult time, all of that needs to be recognized by our leaders. And when just that recognition alone takes place, that's leaders coming from a conscious place of, I need to recognize every single one of my employees for what they have done to pivot in this world.
Jackie, it's beautiful what you just said. And I'm going to quickly tell you that it's so important when you said that very point, that when leaders recognize this, all the difficult, because everyone's gone through it, and we all have experienced something different, right? And just acknowledge the situation. That's giving too, just to acknowledge, to actively listen, to be vulnerable. This is one that I want to add out there. I want to throw it out. See if this lands on you. Just being able to show that vulnerability, that, guys, guess what? I'm scared too. This situation is not something we prepared for. It's okay not to know the answers. Let's figure it out. I had this conversation, Jackie, with my team. And when initially it happened last year, we got on a call and we spent the first 10 minutes of our meeting acknowledging the situation, checking in with each one of us. How are we doing? How are you handling? And we were all very vulnerable. We were not sure where this is going and what we have to do. And I think it was really beautiful because for the first time, my team, they looked at me too, and they realized, wait a second, Raj doesn't know what to do either, and it was beautiful because in the middle of this meeting, my son, jumps on my lap, right? And this is an engineering company. So, usually our meetings, well, it's my company. So you can imagine it's still very lovey-dovey, right? But the point is that he jumped on my lap. And instead of, reacting, I just allowed him to be there and he was part of the meeting, right? And what I realized is it softened the meeting. It allowed everyone to, feel involved and say, yes, this is
our new reality.
It's a different situation. And I could see that it was a two-way give. You know what was funny thing is, and I want to add this point, Jacqueline, see if this one makes sense, is that, we have to be very attentive to the fact that we have to be able to give to ourselves too. That kindness, that love, it has to start here as well. It's a lot of people, and I know a lot of leaders, conscious leaders talk about this to me. They go, Raj, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're so tired. And a lot of times I say, we take a step back and have a look and see, are you bringing that empathy back to yourself? Are you applying that compassion to yourself too? You apply to others, it's okay, but you also apply that to yourself. Give yourself too, right, Jackie? That's important as well, isn't it?
You know what? It actually starts with yourself. And, people, and this conversation goes on a lot. It's like people get giving burnout. And it's like, well, you don't get giving burnout when you start with yourself. And that can be as simple as time, whether it's a few minutes in the morning before you go to work. It's taking that time on the weekend. It doesn't have to be major parts, or chunks or days or weeks of time. But it's again, it's that consciousness of, I am going to give myself 15 minutes, an hour before I go to work. That could be going out for a walk. It could be meditation. It's whatever works for you. People always think meditation is like some hokey spiritual thing that you do. Meditation or taking a few minutes of quiet time is just making that conscious effort in your day to take a break. That's all it is. It's taking that break from all of the outside chatter to just sit quietly and breathe. That's, people take meditation out of context sometimes, that you have to be some guru and sit for weeks on the side of a mountain. It's not. It's just making the conscious effort to fill yourself first. Everybody's heard that referral of your cup is half empty or half full. For me, and it was the best thing I had ever heard, it's neither, as long as you always got the jug next to it filled with water. Because then you're always replenishing. So you can look at your cup either way, but just make sure you got the jug of full water next to you, so you are refilling your cup on a regular basis. But making that effort to take care of yourself first, then you have unlimited amount to give to others.
It's funny. I see amazing comments, by the way, Jackie. And a lot of our friends are here. I see Jared, so a big hi to him.
Hi, Jared.
We see Data, Shiva, Raj. So amazing comments coming our way, and it's always fun to have all of you participate and tell us what your thoughts are. But when you see acts of kindness, when you receive them, so this is a two-way street. You give and you also receive acts of kindness, right? So how does it make you feel? One part of it, right? And the second part is when you're giving, how does it make you feel, right? When you're going out there doing something for someone else. Like I said, it doesn't have to be the biggest thing in the world, but how does it make you feel, right? And then now apply this in your organizations. Do you see this happening at work? And when you do, how does it make you feel? Does it give you more? Do you feel more productive? Do you feel part of a community? We talk about CSR, right, Jackie? And it encourages action through love, right? A lot of lessons in life can be very subtle. That's what you teach me. You teach me that, you don't have to always go and hammer something on the head, right? To teach them a lesson. You can actually teach subtle lessons through, teach our kids the small things of gratitude. And it happens when you can realize that you can make other people happy, So you are a powerful icon for us, Jackie, because you show so much through what you do as a conscious leader.
Well, and I'll let you know, for everybody, is that, people, lots of times, they look to what we do but I have to do it as a conscious practice myself. It's not something that you do and then all of a sudden you're this perfect person and love's coming from your heart all the time. We all slip. Listen, even when COVID landed in our lap here with our family, and I had become a teacher because I was homeschooling my children, it took a conscious effort for me and practice every day. We literally reframed it at our house, and we created Happiness School, and it lasted for about 2 weeks. And then things started to fall apart. It was like, oh my God, I'm clear I'm not a homeschooling parent, but I had to keep going back to it. I had to keep going back and making that effort, because I realized that if I'm not a happy person, I'm chief happiness officer at my house for everybody, including my dog. And it's, if I'm not a happy person, I'm not good inside of myself, it affects every single person in my family. And that's when we start to see, our family even falling apart at a bigger scale. It's easy for me to go show up on conversations like this. You show up for 15 minutes, you're cheery, I'm like, the world's greatest giver, but it's not. It still takes an effort for me. And I practiced for 365 days for an entire year. So you would think it just becomes a natural habit for me. But I still today have to make sure I have my own happiness practice. I have my own gratitude happiness practice. I have my own giving practice. And it's something that I have to wake up every day consciously aware of. And I know the minute that I slip, because the minute I wake up, I feel different. I'm not feeling that, happiness exuding from my body or the excitement from the day. I'm a person who wakes up at 4:30 in the morning naturally. And I know that if I don't wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, that I've got a shift going on, that I have to reel back in and say, okay, why am I not just getting up excited for the day? And I have to refocus again and refocus. So this is a practice that has to become a routine in your life. And what happens is you become consciously aware of your feelings. So you become consciously aware if you're feeling good or you're not feeling good. And you go, okay, what do I need to do to shift? What do I need to do to create that shift? Because if not, your employees, or how you're putting yourself out in the world. And, one of the guests that are on here, Jared, he's a great example of this. Somebody who, that's what he puts out through social media, through the work he does. He has his own small business. So it's not like he has an abundant amount of employees, but he is a coach and a trainer. And so what he does is he puts it out through his work that he does via LinkedIn. And he shows up being that person and giving through offering his services. And he coaches everybody live. And which I love about him is he takes what he does and he gives it back to the world just through how he shows up in social media, which is amazing. And that's what we can all do as well, is when we come out into the world, whether you're a small business owner or you're a large business owner, how you affect your employees, and then how you show up to the world, the value that you're giving back, the service that you're giving back through the messages that you create.
It's absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. And I'd add to that, when they ask, and I've had leaders ask me this question is, so why put in this effort, right? I mean, ultimately it's all about profit and productivity. And my answer,
I have the numbers and the stats to back up this one.
Absolutely. But I realize that numbers and stats are for people who are still looking to argue. So my answer was very simple. I said, please tell me the number of companies that you know that have created an impact. And then suddenly the question, lands and they look at me and they're like, huh? I'm like, how many organizations do you know, count in your fingers, that have created an impact and that you will remember till the end of your life and probably 20 generations down, right? Do you want to be one of them? So where's the purpose? What's the purpose of what you're doing? Great, you're doing this amazing, you're the best organization that makes the best company. Great, that's greatest product. That's fantastic. But what is it for? What is that? What's the why behind it? What are you changing? What are you inspiring? And when you start to look at the bigger impact, and everybody who's involved in this journey with you also has that same drive, then that's where the magic happens. And that's why what you said was absolutely right, is when conscious leaders inspire that through the way they lead, through, yes, giving kindness, inspiring people, teaching them that, it's okay, to be vulnerable. It's okay to not know, and we will figure it out together, because the outcome, the impact that we're here to create is so much bigger than us and so much more beautiful than us. And we're doing this for the world at large. And when we talk this,
it's that thought of how do you make people feel through the messaging that you're putting out? And that's such a big one with your employees. You know, your employees are your best marketing tool that you have. So if your employees are feeling so good about the work that your company is doing in the world, not just making billions of dollars, but the impact that they're creating for generations to come, they're the ones that are going out and spreading that message for you. And they become your greatest marketing tool through their own platforms that they use, through the messages that they're spreading through their families and through their communities about the company. But it's going back to that. How is your company, how are you making the world feel when they think about you? Are they getting the warm, fuzzy, you know, feeling of, wow, you know, and it's not, again, about donating millions or billions of dollars through the work that you do, but the stories that you're putting out that are how you're creating a feeling about who your company is.
Yes.
And you'll see my little ghost coming down the stairs. So my family's just starting to wake up.
and it's a great time. So it's a great time for us to, quickly recap what we spoke about, because you've thrown a lot of things our way, right? So we're going to throw some takeaways on screen, and then we're going to pick up this conversation again on the feeling element, because, part of this is how you feel and how it makes others feel. And we have our partner, Nisha, who's coming on. She's the founder of Mind Wellness, and she loves talking about feelings. So I said, okay, Nisha, come on in, talk to Jackie, because, you guys are going to talk a lot about this, and I know you're going to love it. So if you're going to throw some takeaways on screen real quick. So while the team does that, I think it's really interesting for us to understand that, conscious leadership is about how you show up. And the things that you do as a conscious leader, which is sharing, receiving, is very valuable, not only for others, but for yourself. Mm-hmm. So, applying love, whether it's to your organization, through you, to every stakeholder out there, to say that, thank you for everything that you're doing, because you count. And through you, we will count. And that's such a beautiful way to wrap this up, to wrap up this top part of conscious leadership. So I'm still waiting for the key takeaways. Till we do that, Nisha, if you want to come on screen and say hi to us so we can join you, I'm going to bring her on.
Hi, Nisha. We can't hear you.
Well, Nisha gets on unmuted. Nisha, you unmute?
Hello, everybody.
Good morning. Or sorry, good evening. Good morning for me.
Yeah. So, Jackie, I had a question for you, actually. My question's this. When we think about mental health and mental well-being in the workplace, I just wanted to hear your take as a conscious leader, especially what we've come off at the bat of 2020 and the year everybody's had. How do you see receptivity for mental health and well-being practices in the workplace?
Well, I think we're seeing a shift, which is the great part, and we're seeing this not only in the workplace. We're seeing it's an active conversation across society and at every level right now, and also because our children are suffering a lot because of the shifts that they've had to go through in their world. But I think that the biggest conversation, and a lot of the leaders in the largest companies in our world, and one of those great leaders from Virgin, they are having those conversations publicly, which has been such a big shift. It's understanding and creating a social norm that's okay to have these conversations. And also people understanding from a leadership perspective that we can no longer just be dictators. It doesn't work anymore. And especially with millenniums that have come up, the way they choose their work now and the work that they want to do is the first thing they look at is, how is the company that I'm looking at joining making an impact in the world? And it's how they make decisions. Millennials will actually take less pay and work for a company that's making greater impact in the world than just go for the money. And that's where we've really seen that shift of consciousness, that it's coming up through the generations, is that what they care about has changed. Because over the years, the conversations we even have, because the world is so connected. And that's the big part we have to realize, is that the world is now connected. It's no longer just, your company is in your little world, those messages are going out across the board all over the world. So you can learn about well-being easily. You can watch YouTube about well-being. You can see it across every platform. And that's how we're now connected, and that people have much more awareness. It's no longer just the Buddhist monk sitting on a mountainside meditating for 25 years. It doesn't have to be that anymore. So living consciously is now something you can get going on your algorithms on YouTube every day you wake up if you choose, and that's what shows up for you. So that your learning becomes that, and can become an algorithm that is trained through AI technology, which most people don't even think about. I always say this to people: what's showing up for you, whether it's on your Instagram feeds, your Facebook feeds, your YouTube feeds, what keeps showing up for you? Because that's going to tell you what you're listening to and what you're watching. And I think people understand that at a different level, that you are a reflection of what you're putting into your ears, what's funneling through your world in social media. There's my little monkey to join us.
Weird with the green screen, but yeah.
I see. Girls, are you seeing a technical little dancing? I don't know if you guys are noticing, but while you guys are talking, it keeps on scrolling. So it's quite funny. It looks like we all are dancing while we're talking. I don't know. Anyone else see that?
Oh, good. I think
I'm not seeing that.
All right. So Soumya has put up 5 key takeaways of today, because I know, Jacqueline, we've spoken about so many different things, but you think these are a fair summary of some of the things that we walk away with today? Some of the interesting takeaways that conscious leadership brings to the table?
Absolutely. And I think that the big thing is don't get scared by that word love. Love is a word that scares people because that's like a romantic thing between two people. And it's really not. And that's where we have to really reframe how we look at love. And I just wrote an article about this, which is perfect timing. It's the common thread that runs through every single human being. Absolutely. And when we look at that differently, and what love is not just romantic love, but it's actually the common thread that connects every single human being. So strip away the color of people's skin, strip away the religion that they practice, whatever that is the common message from the time of the mythical gods through the indigenous teachings all over the world. That's the common thread that runs through humanity, and every positive emotion comes from it. So don't be scared of that word. We're not saying you got to go tell every employee that you love them, which makes people squirm at times, but it's how you show up through the actions in your life. And especially as a conscious leader, you're just coming from that place of love in everything that you do, which shows up in the world through your actions and through the words that you express to people.
I love that summary. I think that was so apt. Jacqueline, thank you so much, because we talk about love as the essence, as what it is. And I want to just remind everyone that, there is nothing to be afraid of when you think about love. I posted today itself, and there's a post today on our media that talks about the perfection of love as the essence and the imperfection of love as the experience. There's going to be times when you have arguments, but you still love. You still come from the space of love. There's going to be times at work when, there is tough love being applied. But if the intention is love, if you, I had a leader ask me this: does that make me weak if I'm going to show up loving everyone? They're going to not take me seriously. And the truth is, it takes strength to be loving, because you know when to apply it. It's just like a father. Your kid misbehaves. You may have to have a few tough words, right? But he knows you love him because your intention is based on love.
Absolutely.
And that's
you always say this. It's what you have taught me in my life. It's holding that space. It's coming from that space always. So even when the world around you is turning upside down, it's coming and holding that space. Even when the hardest time to hold the space is when it's tough, but that's what leaders are there to do. They're there to hold the space when things are really hard, because if you fall apart from the top, then everything crumbles underneath you. So when you understand that holding the space is truly being a leader and holding that space of strength, holding that space of courage, of happiness. That is all love, and so that's why we don't have to fear it, but you're the one that people are looking to hold that space. And we've seen this at a leadership perspective across the world recently. When leaders don't hold that space is when things go sideways, and that's been right up in my face. You and I talked about this briefly before we started. There's going to be an energy shift in the world today. It's happening as we speak.
So Jacqueline, I want to quickly, because I know that we're going to have to say bye to our Facebook audience real quick. So if we can all quickly say thank you to all these amazing people on Facebook. We got our dear friends there, some amazing comments. We are so blessed to have you. Obviously, we love you all, and we continue to learn from you. And so today, if you don't mind, share with us how is it for you to show up as a conscious leader when you experience it, when you give it, and how does it make you feel? Because as Nisha always says, be in awareness of the way you feel, right? Be in awareness. And through that awareness, can you empower others? So to all of our Facebook audience, we love you to death. Thank you so much for all that you bring to us, for all the learning. And talk to you guys soon.
Bye-bye.